Let's go! Hello and welcome to another episode of Fair 64, your one-stop shop for all things video game news, occurrences, first impressions, reviews. We take a look at what's coming soon and so much more. I am your host, Yemmy the Ferret, and we'll be taking a dive into this week's video game anomalies. I don't know, just into the world of video games. Appreciate you swinging by. Hope you're having a good week or weekend. We have a good amount of things to talk about today, but a change of pace. It's a pretty good spread across the board. So let's jump into the first part of the show, which is going to be the final review for two different games. So it might be a little bit weird on the podcast angle, but I gotta do what I gotta do. We're going to start off with Mortal Kombat 1 and move into We Were Here Expeditions the Friendship, two games that I wanted to do a final review for since I am done with them. So let's get started with the final review. Mortal Kombat 1 has been a game that I have been excited about for quite some time, ever since it was revealed. What was it, last year it was revealed? Or maybe it was even earlier in this year. And I have been ecstatic. Everything we've seen so far has been... Well, it was really good looking, and it seemed like a real step in the right direction. Well, I guess maybe a step in a not so much in the right direction, but a step in in a direction that was going to be even better than before. Because Mortal Kombat 11, 9, even 10 are pretty good. I think 10 struggles a lot in a lot of different ways, but 11 was great and 9 is still probably my favorite out of the franchise. So Mortal Kombat 1, I was really hoping was going to, rise above the other ones and really show its stuff. The graphics, just to start off, they did a great job with the graphics. I mean, what can you say? I mean, the brutalities, the fatalities, the fatal blows, all the different move sets of the characters, their facial animations, everything looks fantastic. Unless you're playing the Switch version, which then you do run into a few problems. That's not the version that I'm reviewing though. I played this on PS5. I played through the story mode and did a couple of the side activities, and I was relatively satisfied with my experience. Let's talk about the story mode because that's where I've spent most of my time. And that's where I usually spend a lot of my time with the Mortal Kombat games, and even Injustice too. Like I always go for the story instead of one-on-one fighting. And even though I like to get into the nitty-gritty of that stuff, it's the story is really what holds me and allows me to enjoy the mechanics more. In my for me personally. So the story takes place after the events of 11, which sees Shang Tsung and Liu Kang fighting over the hourglass, and at the end of that game, you can actually choose who wins the fight. And the Mortal Kombat 1 starts off with the Liu Kang winning the fight, which you would think oh, okay, so they chose that ending. And right away, there's Liu Kang's made like this perfect world, and everyone's just kind of living in it. And then all of a sudden, things start getting meddled with inside of his perfect world, and characters start, like Shang Tsung in Liu Kang's world is like a snake oil salesman, but a character who looks very strangely close to Kronika tells him that he's meant for greater things and teaches him true magic. Same thing happens with Quan Chi, who is like a miner in a cave or something like that, and he gets lifted up and whatever. So things start going haywire, and I think about like how Liu Kang set up this world, and he strongly nerfed characters who were big in the other Mortal Kombat games. Even the guy from Mortal Kombat X gets some pomp and circumstance. I forget his name right now. He had like the two horns coming out of his head. I can't remember his name right now for some reason. But the way he nerfed some of the characters, gave them unfulfilling lives, was like a setup for failure, really. I mean, the opening scene of the game is Shang Tsung getting his ass beat because his miracle cure-all was fake, and it's like, well, why? I mean, if Liu Kang's truly setting up all these characters, why doesn't he, do something better for these evil characters? Make them not realize that they're missing out on something in the world, And the same goes for like Baraka, who is a good guy in this game. There's actually, for the first time ever in Mortal Kombat, there is a chapter dedicated to him where you actually play as him, which I really liked. Baraka is one of my favorite characters in the game, or I mean, sorry, in the series. And what Liu Kang does is, like, the Tarkatans are. It's not just a people anymore. They're like. They're like disease ridden and like they're losing their minds and they're gonna die. And Baraka, for some reason, has not yet. He's like for some reason I live this curse and whatever. It's like, Liu Kang, you made this universe. You could have made it so that this never existed, or at least like it was just like the other games where Tarkatans were just a race of people, and and they were dying slow, like dying as they did things. So I don't understand the whole setup for the Liu Kang universe. Like, he did good stuff here and there, like having Sindel be a good queen instead of an evil queen, and having Shao Kahn be like a general, so he still feels fulfilled for being a general and fighting in wars, and etc. etc. So the story itself, I was fine with it for the most part. They had to reintroduce every single character in the series, and they did that thing again where they used characters who are not in the game originally, like Quan Chi. You fight him a few times. Same thing with Ermac. They are both in the Wave 1 of DLC, but it's weird that they would give them such prominent roles in the campaign, yet not include their characters in the base roster. It's one of those things that has been happening with Mortal Kombat since Mortal Kombat X, when they had like Baraka and Rain and Tanya all in that game and having their own movesets and stuff like that, but they were not playable until later on when DLC came around. Then they were completely retooled. Same thing happened in 11. I was very upset that the the robot guys they had nothing going on. They had characters mapped out in the game, but you couldn't play as them. And you had to wait until I think it was called Tribot or something like that, came out in the DLC wave. I think it was the final one, where all three characters were combined into one robot. And it's just it's one of those things. It's like, I like, why do you do that? Why do you completely map out a character and whatever, and then put them behind a paywall, or put them behind a later update or a later DLC? It just doesn't make any sense, especially in the terms of Ermac. I mean, Ermac is like the punching bag from Mortal Kombat X. You fight him so often in that game, and then you're fighting him like so often in this one too. Like, almost at the halfway point, he gets introduced, and you fight him like almost constantly in every single chapter up until some events transpire. So it's just one of those things. It's like, you're so close. You're so close to making this just such a really great campaign, rivaling Mortal Kombat 9's, but you just don't get there, and it's unfortunate, because I want this game to have the best campaign. I want it to be the best Mortal Kombat game, but for me personally, it doesn't reach the heights of 9, and it definitely doesn't reach the heights of 11. It is better than X, I will give it that, but right now it's just floating under 11, which I wasn't a huge fan of 11, but I still thought the campy story was fun, and even though Kano was an enemy that was just the cannon fodder in that game, it still was fun to go through the campaign and do all the different side activities. But Mortal Kombat 1, the story, it's just like, it's so exposition heavy for the first like half of the game. They introduce all the characters, they introduce the new characters, and every single character has to tell their entire backstory as soon as they come on screen. Even Ermac, the dude made of ghosts, He appears, and immediately the first line he utters, without even being asked who he is or what he is, he's like, "I am Ermac, a collection of souls, that from the living trees or whatever." And it's like, okay, who asked? you know. And then there's like it happens so often, like Natara, as soon as she appears in the game, she clashes with one of the characters and she's like, "I'm a vampire," and blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, I like the exposition, but don't dump it like so regularly when a character appears on screen. It starts all the way at the beginning with Liu Kang. I'm sorry, not Liu Kang. With Raiden and Kung Lao, where as soon as their discussion starts talking, as soon as they start talking, they're just explaining their entire backstory, and I get it. Like, obviously, this is a new world, and that Liu Kang is built, so we kind of need context for a lot of things. But there's some characters who are the same, and they didn't really change. And it's really weird how, one of the weaker points of Mortal Kombat usually is the writing, and this one just fits that shoe. It's just the writing is pretty bad throughout the entirety of the script. And to kind of like really push it home, Megan Fox, no hate towards her at all. Oh, no hate towards her at all. But yeah, her performance is just so dry and flat in this game, and they made a huge spectacle of like, oh, Megan Fox is in the game, she's playing Natara. We used her face, we used her face and her voice and blah 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 blah. It's like, that's great, but was this the right choice? No. She really drags the experience down quite a lot, in my opinion. I know she's not on screen too often, and sometimes all she does is like the guttural. Well, I guess Megan Fox doesn't do them, but another voice actress does the guttural screams and stuff like that, and that sounds fine. But it's those moments when she's like saying a couple lines in a row, or a one-off line, and it sounds like she doesn't have context, or she's not a voice actor. I think the main problem. You put her into a role that she really hasn't been in before. How many times has Megan Fox done voice acting in her life? I would say that the number would be on a single hand, maybe less than 5. And I don't recall anyone ever praising Megan Fox for her voice acting. So even though, like, yeah, it's a cool get, and she obviously has had a long career, successful career, but this was just a bad it was just a bad decision, in my opinion. And then, I don't blame Megan Fox, even though her performance is bad. I don't blame her, because it could have been the directing. It could have been, how maybe she was just put into a sound booth with the lines given to her and she didn't have any context for them. Maybe they didn't push her hard enough to get out the different things that they needed to get out of her, and that's more on like a directing standpoint or whatever. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, you could have not. You could have gotten a real voice actor or actress, I mean, and you would have been fine. But instead, they chose to get a big name, probably pay them an exorbitant amount of money, just for them to be one of the weakest characters in the entire game. It's unfortunate, but it's true. The one redeeming quality that this campaign has, and I enjoyed, like I said before, I enjoyed the campaign as a whole enough, but the one truly redeeming part of this game is that ending. There is a point where this game just like goes completely off the rails in a good way, and they just went crazy with it. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I am going to spoil a few things right now, so skip ahead like a minute or so, to skip the story spoilers. I will give you a countdown: 3, 2, 1. Skip ahead about a minute. But there's a point where the two worlds of Shang Tsung and Liu Kang combine, and then they realize that, oh my god, there's like an infinite amount of parallel universes that we can really play around with. And what they do is they combine characters' movesets together for this big bombastic final climb up a tower. And throughout that, there's just like these really crazy, like Shao Kahn mixed with Sub Zero, Johnny Cage mixed with Melina or whatever. There's just so many of these really cool and interesting combinations. Obviously, characters that you will never see again or use, but it was still such a cool final climb up that tower. All the kids from Mortal Kombat X appeared at one point, and they all just get like killed in 2 seconds, meaning that like yeah, they definitely regretted making half of those characters for Mortal Kombat X, but yeah, that's one of those things. It's like, yeah, that was such a cool, like, it's such a cool ending, and like the ending of the game is really just up there. Like that is one of my favorite endings in any Mortal Kombat ever, and it's unfortunate that it's in this game that is just kind of like, I wanted more from it, from the story especially. Let's move on to the combat, spelled with a K. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just not recalling correctly. I mean, I played a lot of Mortal Kombat 9, X, and 11. I played them religiously for the years that they came out, and even Injustice and stuff like that. I played those games a lot, and I don't know if I'm just not. I don't know if I'm just not playing the game correctly, but I find that just kind of doing regular combos and stuff like that is just it doesn't feel great. And the new system for using your burn ability is just kind of lame in my opinion. Like instead of pressing the burn button during a move to kind of change it up, you have to press it as soon as you press the other button to initiate the move, which doesn't feel great in my opinion. And it also like it makes me kind of have to relearn the game too, which is kind of annoying. I really rather would have those burn moves that change up the move mid go, because I think that adds a little bit more strategy to what you're doing. As it stands, throughout most of the campaign and most of the towers and stuff that I did, I was just kind of spamming special moves with the burn meter, because it just made the game a little bit monotonous. All you do is you spam those special moves, and I didn't really use combos at all. I didn't really press the punch, kick, slide. I didn't press any of those buttons too often, simply because I didn't feel the need to, because the game, like, it almost doesn't want you to use those smaller moves, because the special moves are just like so good. And yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I don't remember the game being so stiff in the other Mortal Kombats. I really feel like the combat in this one is sorely lacking in so many different places. And there's some characters that you play as during the campaign that I completely did not gel with, and they were it was agonizing to get through the campaign moments with them. And the nice thing is that most of the characters I did find enjoyment in using. Liu Kang and Havoc, especially. I know Havoc, you don't play as him in the campaign itself, but I really enjoyed playing as Havoc in like the towers and stuff like that. I felt like he was a really good character. I really liked him. But once again, that's only because I was just using his special moves. I really wasn't using his combos. And that's mostly because I feel like stringing together different moves that aren't linked to an official combo on the move list, it just doesn't work. And in other games, I felt like it did work. You could kind of create your own combo chains if you wanted to. And in this one, it feels much more stiff in the fact that you have to do square, triangle, square if you want to do a combo. There's no other way to do one. You can't do square O square. You can't do square X square. It has to be square, triangle, square, or one of the other predetermined ones that we've mapped out, which it limits your gameplay a lot, especially when you are kind of like, oh, I want to try to change things up, use a few different moves here and there, and they just don't link to anything else. It's rather disappointing in my opinion. And I know that kind of makes me sound like I hated this game or something, but I mean I still was fine with it. It's just one of those things that was really nagging me throughout the entire playthrough of the game, and going into the and doing the different parts of the game. And I just, there's just some things that I really wish they hadn't changed from those other ones. And I understand trying to evolve the series and moving it to be a bit different, but I can definitely foresee in Mortal Kombat 13 or whatever they're going to call it, I can definitely see them going back to using how the burn meters how they did, and changing up so that the moves flow together better. That would be great. I totally forgot to mention the cameo characters. A lot of them, I mean, you have a few different moves they can do with them. If you do like a forward throw, they'll come out and do that. If you do a fatal blow, they'll start you off and then you take over. They all have their own like fatalities and stuff that they can do. And I really enjoyed a lot of them. And a lot of the cameo characters in the campaign I'm sorry, a lot of the characters that are in the game itself aren't in the campaign for some reason, like Jax and Kano, and there's a whole slew of them that just didn't really show up in the campaign. I was kind of disappointed in that fact too. Like, why didn't we have like Jax appear in a cutscene, or why didn't we have Sonya appear? Or why wasn't Kano in this at all? It doesn't make sense. And I guess it's mostly because hey, they just didn't design character models around that stuff. And I mean, there is a part where like those characters kind of show up, but you can tell that they're just like mapped over, or they're just regular character models. They don't have anything special going on. Um, so other things you can do in the game, like the invasion mode and the towers. I mean, the towers are the towers. They're the same in almost any Mortal Kombat game. You go through a collection of fights, or unlimited fights, or whatever, or different challenges, and you see like a ending for the character. So for one character like Havoc, you see the ending, like a new ending for his character, blah blah blah. Um, and then the invasions mode is actually really fun. I was really enjoying my time doing it. You kind of get you pick a character that you want to use, and you go through a series of fights and mini games in order to get through this like grid like layout of well, the first part is Johnny Cage's house, and there's like portals opening up that is bringing fighters in from all across the universes. So I was playing Havoc, and you kind of go through and you beat up characters as you go along, and you open up doors, and you defeat like bosses and stuff like that. And I found the mode to be very enjoyable. I liked the vibe that they were going for, and I enjoyed what they were doing with that. And I thought that it was just a really a good time. I thought that was great. So in the end, I am a bit disappointed with Mortal Kombat One. I mean, it's just on the list of games that I was excited for and didn't really deliver throughout this year. And this one just kind of seats right into that because I wasn't like super thrilled with the gameplay mechanics, and I thought the story was fine throughout the most part, but it did end in a bombastic way. But there was just some weird line deliveries and explanations, and of course, Nitara was just poorly voice acted, and yeah, I mean, it all concludes in like a really good and bombastic way, but the lead up to that is a bit drab, just kind of like run the by the numbers, I guess you would say. Like I said, it ends in a great way, and I think that if they did more of that, it would probably have been better. But and then it also has the same problem with like there's there's in-game currency in this still, and there's characters who show up in the campaign who aren't playable yet. Just kind of like annoying things that have been with the series for a couple games now. Like Mortal Kombat 1, I don't think they can ever outdo Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry, Mortal Kombat 9. I don't think they can ever outdo Mortal Kombat 9 with its roster. Like it just had so many characters, and the DLC fighters were also really cool. Kratos for the PS4 or the PS3 version. Like, how can you really do better than that? And the story was like bow 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 all the way through. It was just such a good story. And it's almost like that was the magnum opus, and the rest are just trying to live up to the greatness of Mortal Kombat 9, which is unfortunate because I really was hoping that Mortal Kombat 1 was going to get there, but it just did not. And even though it sounds like I'm really, really not liking the game, I did end up, I still enjoyed it. I think that, even though I didn't enjoy the new combat stuff, I think that the combat is still fun at times. And once you find the character you gel with, that's kind of going to be the one that you stick with for the rest of your play time. But yeah, all in all, yeah, I think I'm going to land on a 4 out of 5 for this one. It's closer to a 3.5 than anything else. And maybe after playing it some more, maybe it'll lower, maybe it'll just stay the same. I don't know. But right now I landed on a 4, and that was the final review for Mortal Kombat 1. We Were Here is a long running series, if you don't know. A long running series where every single game is played with two people. So think of It Takes Two or A Way Out, except first person and much more puzzle oriented. And you definitely have to work together way more than those other games. So, it starts off, the series started off a little bit basic. I believe the first game is still free. And it just kind of kept building from there, building and building and building. We Were Here Forever was the last full game in the series so far, and I really enjoyed that one. I played through it with my friend Greedy Waffles, and we really enjoyed that one. It made us want to go back and play through the other games, which we did. I think we stopped on the third one because it was very glitchy. But We Were Here Forever was a really good experience, and just kind of waiting for the next thing to come from the We Were Here series. And what do you know? We Were Here Expeditions, which might be a spin-off series that they are working on. And this one's called The Friendship. So what is this one all about? So essentially, once again, story that the story takes place. Two people are wandering through a wilderness, and they stumble upon this like defunct carnival or whatever you want to call it. It's all about friendship and working together with someone else. And the campaign, it pretty much circles around trying to build a pirate ship and getting to the end of the area to move on with your journey. And even though the puzzles in this game weren't as challenging as some of the ones in the past of the series, this was still a really fun co-op experience. A bit short, but still really fun. The game will be free, so if you're listening to this right now you can add it to your Steam account for free up until like October 13th or something like that, or 20th. I forget exactly when, but make sure you go add it to your Steam list at right now. Just do it right now. Because eventually down the road you may want to play this game, and I do recommend people playing this game. It was a really fun time. It's like I said, it's essentially like co-op puzzles, but this one had a few more like it had like an actual game in the middle of it. And I know I'm like talking about a game, but there's like a game inside of the game. So the first puzzle is pretty simple, just kind of going through some symbols and pushing things in the right order. And the main gimmick of this series is like you are split up from your other person. You communicate with them on a radio. If you don't have like Discord open or a PlayStation Party open, you have to like press a button to talk into the radio and explain things to the other person. And of course, you can't both talk at the same time if you're using the radio, which really does add to the experience. The second puzzle is one where one person is describing what a puppet is doing, and then there's a symbol underneath the puppet on the other person's perspective that you need to tell them what it is, and then they push a button, and that can get pretty chaotic as it gets faster and you have less time to do things. And the whole point of these little puzzles is to earn golden tickets. If you earn anything less, then your pirate ship isn't going to look golden as you would like it to. So you want to get the gold tickets on each of them, or you're going to get bronze parts or silver parts stuck to your pirate ship. The next puzzle is the game, where one person puts down pegs and they try and connect pegs, while the other person has like different colors that need to stick together in order to add a multiplier to them. So there's red, green, and blue, and if you connect the blue to a blue, then you get a 2 times multiplier, or whatever is on the board at the time. So you have to really work together to find out the optimal location for a multiplier, and also make sure that it is also a viable spot for a peg to be put down. And then the final puzzle was one person was on like this kind of like lighthouse tower, and you had to go around and tell the other person where to go. It was like this big maze with mini games and stuff in there. Some parts of it, the person couldn't see the floor, or they couldn't see like an anchor swinging at them, or they couldn't tell where a platform was going to be. So you had to talk them through going through each of those areas, which yeah, was pretty cool. Really liked that. It got pretty challenging towards the end, but in the end, we got through it, and it was a very interesting time. I really enjoyed doing that one. And after that, the game is pretty much over. Like I said, it's a pretty short game. It's for free right now. Right now, it is literally for free. So it doesn't really matter how long the game is. A free game's a free game, and this one is very well put together. We didn't run into any glitches during our time playing through the game. We really only had a problem. Well, I guess there was. I believe there was a glitch, but I'm not gonna like harp on it for too long. But throughout our playthrough, we just had fun. I don't think any of the puzzles were overly difficult in a way that made them not fun. Even if you don't fully, if even if you don't get the gold ticket, you can still pass the puzzle with a bronze one. So even if you are struggling on something and you get like silver, 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 and you are getting frustrated, just take the silver and come and go back. Do another playthrough of the game to get that gold ticket. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, unlike the other We Were Here games, this one actually allows you to kind of bypass a puzzle if it's too difficult for you and your partner to solve, or if you're just not getting it or whatever. You can kind of bypass it by doing the bare minimum, getting the bronze ticket, and moving on. And the game doesn't really care. It just pretty much goes like, oh, good work, sailors, and it lets you move on. So yeah, I mean, it's a very well put together game. For them to put it out for free is like, I feel like I'm robbing them, because this really is a great experience, and it's one that you should definitely try out. Do I wish it was longer? Yes. Do I wish that there were more puzzles? Of course. Do I wish that the first puzzle wasn't so bare bones and easy? Yes. uh, but all in all, it was a very fun experience. I'm very positive on this game. It doesn't reach the heights that We Were Here Forever, or even maybe even the third game does. But like I said, we really didn't get through that one. But it is better than the first two games at least. And yeah, I found it very enjoyable, and I hope that this We Were Here Expeditions series kind of keeps going, especially if they put their games out for free at the start. Like, that's kind of crazy still to me. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But as of right now, very good game. Thumbs up for me. I'm also giving this one a 4 out of 5. Very enjoyable. And there you go. And that was the final review. Let's go ahead and move on to what have I been playing this past week. So I know what you're thinking. Oh, you gave Mortal Kombat 1 and We Were Here the same score, but you had way more critical things to say about Mortal Kombat 1. The grading scale fluctuates for me. Smaller indie games are going to have a different grading scale than AAA games. It's how I've always done things. So, even though I had a lot of negative things to say about Mortal Kombat, I thought that the overall experience was still good enough to be like a 4 out of 5. And a 4 out of 5 is like it's above average. I have some problems with that. I think I explained my grading scale a while back. I just feel like I need to reiterate at this point that like a half star to 1 star is like unplayable garbage, no redeeming qualities at all. 1.5 to 2, still pretty bad. Probably a lot of glitches in there, but there's still some things that I found enjoyable, just enough to put it above a F tier kind of game. 2.5 to 3 are average experiences, ones that have an equal parts good and equal parts bad to them. Ones that I feel like don't really push the envelope, and they don't do anything too major. 3.5 to 4 are above average. Probably some negative things to say in there, but overall I had a good experience or a fun experience with the game. And then of course a 4.5 to 5 are games that are exceptional. They are way above average. They're great. They're good. Of course, a 5 out of 5 is going to be a perfect game where I have nothing negative to say. And those I try to give out pretty rarely. Of course, I try to give out those pretty rarely. Anyway, let's move on to what I've been playing this past week here. Lies of P. Lies of P. Pinocchio. Lies of P. This is the Pinocchio themed Souls-like. It was put onto Xbox Game Pass, and the demo was played by a lot of people. A lot of people. I did not play the demo. I watched someone play it. I thought it looked great. I always like to judge games for myself, so that's why I wanted to wait and play the official release, because I knew I was going to get it not get it, but play it anyway. And a lot of times I'm glad that I do that because I go into a game with a fresh perspective. I don't have any other judgments or something like that in my mind. I can have a blank slate and talk about a game honestly from the heart. And Lies of P, it did take a good minute for me to get into it. Not like Starfield, where like I had to wait like a couple hours like for the game to start to get interesting, because Lies of P immediately is interesting. Not only is the setting beautiful, and the like the way that they meticulously designed these areas and the enemy designs and animations is all beautifully done. Like there's a reason to get into this game and immediately be struck with awe as you open up the train carriage that you are stuck in for the first like couple seconds. And immediately when you walk out, you're like, "Whoa, this is a beautiful looking game." It's such a high detail. I mean, the frame rates of me like perfect, and all the different animations are so well done. And you kind of wander around this train station for a little bit, and you meet your first like big enemy at the end of it all. You open up a shortcut, and you meet the first big enemy of the game, who he's probably going to be a regular enemy down the road, but he's like the stopgap. Like if you have trouble beating this guy, get ready for the next thing we have to throw at you or something like that. It's kind of one of those enemies that's like in a Dark Souls game that you wouldn't have to beat, but you can beat to get something special if you do beat him early on. But this one, you need to beat him in order to get the pass to get out of the train station. So it's kind of like it is like a skill check right at the end of this little tutorial section, going, hey, if you start raging against this guy, you're probably not going to enjoy this game. And I think that in general, Lies of P is definitely not going to be for everyone. It has that same vibe as like a Bloodborne or Sekiro, where it's like it's a kind of like a spin-off of a Souls game where they kind of mess around with the mechanics enough to kind of give it its own vibe. And not everyone's going to like that who enjoys Souls games, or maybe they don't like Souls games. Not everyone's going to enjoy this, how Lies of P works. And for me personally, I was playing it after like it was a late night and I was really tired, and for some reason I felt like I needed to play the game a little bit before the next day, and that was probably the bad decision of my week, which was like I was really struggling against this freaking giant, like this robot that was not even a boss fight. And I don't know. I was like starting to get angry, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm not vibing with this. I'm done. And I came back to it about a day or so later because I was like, I really can't leave it like that. Like I was in the wrong headspace. I was tired. I need to get back to this and try it out again. And so I did that. I went through the entire tutorial again, just kind of refreshing the different mechanics that they want you to learn, and I beat that bobby hat wearing fuck in 2 goes, and I was very satisfied with how the combat was working at the time. And as I went into the next section, I was kind of nervous because I was like, okay, it still I took a lot of damage there, and I was not doing great with my parries still and stuff like that. So I was nervous going to the next section, but my worries were kind of flushed down the drain almost immediately when I was starting to really gel with how the game works. Now, yes, there is a parry system that you need to rely on for the most part, but you can also dodge and roll out of the way if you need to. And utilizing those two different things is really what makes this game a bit special from the other Souls likes you may be thinking about. Like Bloodborne, it's all dodging. Sekiro, it's all parrying. Lies of P allows you to kind of work things out, and you don't have to parry every move. You don't have to dodge every move. And there are some moves like the moves where the enemy turns red are you have to do a perfect parry in order to take no damage for them. You can slightly roll out of the way if you can try. You can try to roll out of the way. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. It's one of those moves that's like a very wide, they're usually very wide reaching, and you have to be really far away from the enemy in order not to be hit by them. The tracking on these enemies are also like, oh my gosh, like the timing on the roll and the parry are very tight, and the tracking on the enemies are Dark Souls 2 level of like following you as you roll and stuff. And you really don't have iframes in this game, which are invincibility frames. So if you're rolling to the side and you roll just a hair too early or a hair too late, yeah, you're getting hit and you're getting knocked down. If you parry a little bit too early or too late, you're still blocking the move in general, and you do have a chance to get your health back if you swiftly attack after an enemy hits you, just kind of like how Bloodborne is. But it's one of those things where if you want, you got to try and get that perfect parry. But blocking still is essential to the way that you play through the game. There's some enemies who hit you like 7 times in a row, and the best way to counteract them is just to block. And even though you'll take some chip damage, it's not too bad. You'd rather get some chip damage than like take the entire blunt of seven swings at your face. So it's a weird but unique dance around these mechanics that they are trying to ingrain in your head early on, but you're probably not going to understand that when you just start up the game and learn the mechanics. It's kind of something that you kind of learn as you do like the first true boss fight, or you go through the first challenging area with shortcuts and stuff in a long run up to the boss fight, which is something that is interesting. A lot of these games, these Souls-like games, try to give you the least amount of run up to a boss now, because after Dark Souls 2's DLC, where you had to go through like that Winter Wonderland in order to get to the boss fight, and it was just like one of the most annoying things in the world. A lot of developers were like, okay, we need to kind of like rethink how we do this whole run up fiasco. And the Lies of P developers said, you know what? Fuck the player. They're going to have to go back through most of this area. And it's a little bit annoying. I'll give it that. It's a little bit annoying to have to re-go through an entire, section with enemies, and maybe there's an enemy who's a little bit difficult, and he might take some you might take some damage. But I haven't found a run-up that's like so annoying that it makes me want to quit the game, It's just one of those things that like it's a little bit annoying to fight the same enemies over and over again, and then go to a boss fight and maybe get bodied and have to do it again and go through it again, and blah 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 blah. And the other unique thing about this game, like you can get health back when you quickly strike after an enemy hits you, but the bosses can do the same thing, and I believe the regular enemies can too. They have also that like faded red part of their health bar that if they attack you, they can start to regain health back. And the only true way to stop a boss from getting their health back, of course, is one, they don't hit you, and two, doing a charge attack that does some massive damage and brings down that red bar. You can also stun bosses, big bosses, and regular enemies and stuff like that by hitting them enough. Their health bar will turn white, and then you have to do a charged attack in order to get them down on their knees, which can be a bit frustrating at times, especially if a boss or an enemy is extremely aggro. They don't want to get off your dick. I already ran into that once with the clown fight, which I was starting to get annoyed because I was like, all I gotta do is do a fucking charge attack, and I chose a heavier weapon for my build, because that's kind of how I play Souls games. And for some reason, the charge attack on that one does a light attack and then a heavy attack for the charge. So you have to hit them once, and you have to like 3D chess, 4D chess it to get the first swing off, and then hit them with the second swing before they can get off one of their attacks to stop you from doing your charge attack. It can get kind of annoying. That dance turns into more of like a mosh pit at times. Instead of you dancing around the enemy and blocking and stuff like that as you can, it's more of like a mad scramble to try and get a move off and seeing where the opening is. So yeah, who knew that Pinocchio was a fan of the death metal. And then after you stun the enemy with your charge attack, you can do a massive blow to them, which is nice. And sometimes if you do enough perfect parries, an enemy's weapon will break, which is also a really cool detail. Some of these bosses have two phases that are vastly different from their first phase. It's pretty impressive how they've designed this game. Right now, I'm stuck on a section. Well, I guess I'm not like stuck. I kind of stopped at this one guy who, he was this big lumbering robot, and then he breaks into pieces, and like a little tiny dude comes out and he's like super fast and completely different from the original boss. So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, there's some really challenging stuff in here. There's some boss fights that are super brutal. There's some run-ups that are crazy. There's some regular enemies that are just like they'll dump on you. Like they'll literally just pull down their pants and shit on your face, and there's really nothing that you can do. And I guess that's one of the reasons why Souls likes are so loved is the challenge. The masochists out there love to just get their shit beat in for time and time again. And there is a way to kind of obviously, as I say with most Souls like games, the real trick is learning the boss's moves so that you know exactly when to dodge. And when so much else is working against you in this game, it's hard to remember that mantra and try and learn the boss's moveset when they're just so erratic at times. Some of the regular enemies too, like they have such delayed tells for their moves. It's you dodge too early, or you block too early, or you parry too early, and it's just like, damn, am I ever going to learn this? And eventually you will. I think that anyone can learn these bosses' movesets or regular enemy movesets. It's just the anticipation of an enemy's attack and just how long the windups are on some of them really does keep you on the edge of your seat and really does keep you like off balance. It's pretty crazy. So all in all, would I recommend trying Lies of P? If you're a fan of Souls-like and you love the Bloodborne or Sekiro type gameplay that's a bit quick and relies a lot on quick timing and stuff like that, yeah, then you should definitely try this out. If you like Souls-like in general, you're going to want to try this one anyway. It's on Game Pass, so you don't have to spend the $50 or whatever the game's worth in order to at least try it out. And I would recommend at least trying the demo out if you are concerned about spending the money. Because I've run into that too, where like I buy a game and then I just don't like it, and I'm like, oh well, I'm out, $50 or whatever because the return policy or whatever. So I definitely would recommend trying that demo out, or if you have Game Pass, trying out the full experience just to see, if you vibe with it, and if you don't, that's fine. It's not going to vibe with everyone, and this is a very challenging Souls-like. I would put it up there with some of the hardest ones out there. It definitely does not pull its punches. It's a crazy mosh pit of mechanics that you really got to start to hone in on this kind of stuff quickly, or you're going to get smacked around. And I guess there's another aspect of this game that I didn't realize, but there is like the whole leveling up system. There's also like leveling up your internal parts, which is not very clear in the when you start up, like you start going into the game. Like I didn't even realize that you could like level up that kind of stuff until I was well into it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like where did they introduce this? I guess I missed it, or they just weren't very clear on it. But yeah, there's some like game changing things, like being able to dodge twice in a row, like in quick succession, I should say. Like what? Why is that locked behind a fucking upgrade? Like, come on. And it's like it's not really obvious either. But whatever. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention is the healing flask in this one is kind of unique to most other Souls games, where once you use all your fills, if you attack an enemy enough, you can actually rejuice your Estus flask essentially, and it'll give you an extra use, which is really nice. It really does make it so that there's always a chance that you might get through it with that extra healing item. So keeping up the pressure on bosses while also minding what they're doing is a big thing for this game. And so far I've had the most success with the heavier weapons, but I can tell that I'm probably going to be a bit limited while I go through it because of how fast some of these enemies react and how aggro they can be at times. Definitely going to be a bit of a problem further on, but so far it's enjoyable and it's beautiful, and I hopefully I'll be able to get through this one because I just want to see more of the environments. That's the only thing I care about in this game is the environments. The combat and the fights and the enemies, fuck that. I want to see the areas. And maybe sometimes that's all you need. You just need a little bit of spark of interest, and that's all you need. But yeah, so far, Lies of P, a thumbs up from me. But you gotta learn it. You gotta learn it. You can't just go into it and play it like a Dark Souls or anything. It's definitely it's a Lies of P game. It's not Dark Souls. I just want to touch on Starfield again because I've been talking about it a lot, and it seems like I'm really hot and cold with it, and I am hot and cold with it. But there are times where this game really just pulls you back in and grabs you by the balls, and it's like, hey, you're not gonna stop playing for a couple hours, right? Because this is a really interesting quest line, right? And you go, yeah, this is a really interesting quest line. I do want to play more of this. So to start it off with the Starfield talk today, I found out that yeah, you can upgrade your ships, which is a stupid thing that I didn't know that. I apologize to all the Bethesda fans out there. I am stupid. I did not realize you could upgrade your fucking ship's weapons to make them better. And as soon as and I didn't realize this until I got a really good ship from the Ranger side quests. But I ended up switching things out on that one and making a really powerful ship, and I can take on level 40 enemy ships now, and I've been really happy with the way that the space combat is fleshing itself out. I mean, it's not really fleshing itself out, but really working out. Instead of it being this crazy dance of going around in a circle like I was before, trying to hit an enemy who is also trying to hit me, my ship has really good turning now, and it has really good weapons, so that I can take down their shields and then bombard them with missiles, and that it's starting to click with me a little bit more. Like I still have a lot of gripes about the exploration angle of this game, but the combat has been fleshing itself out. Even like the on foot combat has been a bit better now that I've gotten some cooler weapons and stuff like that. So it's definitely one of those games. It's like a slow burn where it just kind of it gets better as you go on. In total, I don't know how this is going to affect my overall score of the game when I finally get it finished, but it's one of those ones that's like, yeah, I can see why. I can see why this is starting to hook people, and it started to hook me after a couple hours. Don't get me wrong, but there's some times where the game kind of turns into like a monotonous grind, where it's like, oh, go find all these artifacts. Oh, go to each of these temples and get and get this thing, and they're just the same tower or the same like kind of journey. And when it starts deviating from that path, that's where Starfield really gets good. Instead of going to get an artifact, and going to a place and mining it out of a cave, you go to a collector and you have to steal it from the collector, and he puts a bounty on your head, and that bounty leads you to being picked up by the UC, the United Colonists military, and they put you on a mission to infiltrate the Crimson Fleet, which is a pirate organization. And that's kind of where I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I just want to kind of get this over with. But then once it started going, like, it was a really long. It was like a 3-hour like mission track line. Like, there were so many missions in a row, based on this Crimson Fleet and UC drama, and it had a pretty nice ending to it as well. You had to choose a side, of course, kind of like how the Railroad is versus the Brotherhood of Steel. So there's that angle of it as well, where you're choosing a faction and blah 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 blah. Depending on your playstyle, you can choose whichever side you want. And yeah, I just like, it's just like there's moments in this game that's like, whoa, yeah, now that's cool. There's this whole section where you have to like infiltrate this derelict ship inside of like a electromagnetic field. So you have to outfit your ship with a couple different attachments, and then you wander into this electromagnetic field around a planet, and you board the ship, and you go through the ship, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, ho hum, it's a derelict ship. And then you turn on the power, and then the robots awaken, and then the shields of the ship fail, and you have to run out of there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And one other aspect that I really didn't realize about this game was like, if you get too much sun, you get solar radiation. If you are exposed to gases, you get a cough for a while, and you have to use medicine or go to a doctor to heal yourself, which I do think was in other games too, but it's a bit more fleshed out in this one, like way more fleshed out. It's just kind of impressive on that aspect. I do feel like, well, actually, no, not. Once I got back to doing the normal missions after doing the whole crazy, United Colonies versus Crimson Fleet thing, the regular missions that I thought were gonna go back to being boring, like the first one I came back to was like crazy, and yeah, it definitely has me hooked again. And now that I have a decent ship that can actually hold its own in battle, against multiple enemies. Now that I have weapons that will allow me to actually fight harder, tougher enemies, I'm enjoying the vibe. I'm enjoying it now. I'm kind of, I'm not invested, but I'm having a good time again. But there's still that angle of like, oh, you go to a planet and there's just nothing to do, or there's a copy and pasted command post, or there's just another, miscellaneous task for you to solve. And there was a video that I saw about a week ago that was a guy like screaming about how good this game is, and like the random encounters are so amazing. I randomly went to the solar system and there was a ship, and I decided to board it, and there was a guy the captain was captured, and I freed him and got some money and left. And he's like, that's a really cool random event that happened. And I was like, no, that wasn't random. That's a part of a ranger quest line. Like, you can pick up ranger missions, and it'll lead you directly to this place. I saved that same captain on the same planet in my playthrough, but I had a mission attached to it. It's just kind of funny. And I know that he probably doesn't know that, but I'm sure that I am almost positive that every single random encounter I've had has been a part of a mission for another faction down the road, whether it be the Crimson Fleet, the United Colonies, the Rangers. There's other organizations you can work for as well. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a single random event, a true random event in this whole game. And I guess it's not really a negative. That's not really a bad thing, but I don't want to see people going around touting that, oh my God, this is such a random event. Where it's like, it's not really random. You usually most of the encounters you have are situated around a mission somewhere in the game. I mean, whether you have an unlocked or not, it doesn't matter. It'll still be on the map for you to do. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I wish that was true. I wish it truly was a random event, but unfortunately, it is. It's a part of something else. So there you go. Another game that I've been playing this week is Party Animals, which is the new game that came to Xbox Game Pass for consoles and cloud, but for some reason it's not available on PC. It's only available through Steam, but I was able to play it through the cloud link, and it wasn't the best thing ever playing it through the cloud. I think it was just the servers were too stressed because there was a lot of people playing it through cloud at the time, and they probably still are. There's a lot of people who really enjoy this game. I find it a little bit frustrating, but I think that's like built into the core game experience for Party Animals is like, oh yeah, your characters are all floppy, kind of like Human Fall Flat or something like that, and you're trying to punch and kick and headbutt and pick up items and use them and throw people off of the stage, kind of like Gang Beasts. But you're playing as these cuddly, fun characters, and you unlock more as you play through and you win and stuff like that. You can also get Twitch drops to get different characters as well, and in general, I think the vibe is great, but I'm not a fan of like this goopy combat system they have. And one of the other annoying things is like one punch and you're knocked out and you can get thrown off of a map. And sometimes it's such an unceremonious knockout because like you just start the fight and someone just immediately punches you in the face and you fall over and you're stunned for like a good 3 seconds or whatever. And yeah, there's really nothing you can do. They throw you off the map and you're donezo. And most games are groups of two versus everyone. So you team up with a random or player or a person you invite to your party, and you just kind of flop around until something finally happens. There's a lot of different game modes in here. Like there's a soccer one, kind of. There's one where you gotta throw a ball into a basket. There's the regular like just kind of like brawls. There's some maps that are unique where like you're fighting on top of a submarine and it slowly is sinking into the water. Like that's pretty cool. There's one where you're on a plane and the edges are very slippery and blah 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 blah. If you do get knocked out, they do give you the ability to like throw fish. Throw fish, bananas, and bombs onto the field. You have to wait for them to recharge, which is kind of a nice touch. Gives you a reason to stick around in the game. But yeah, so far I'm not like super jazzed about the game either. Like it's more, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's supposed to be frustrating that I'm just not vibing with it. But I never really vibed with Gang Beasts or Human Fall Flat either. So it's not really one of those games that would that I would like, I guess. I'm glad that I tried it out and got some experience in it, but it's not one of those games that I'm like jazzed about, ready to get back, itching to get back to. So as of right now, I'm probably not going to go back to Party Animals, but it might be for you if you like the kind of like sloppy kind of like characters who just kind of like wobble around and stuff like that. There you go. Party Animals might be for you, but it was not for me so far. Maybe I'll give it another chance, but I don't know if I want to invest any more time into it. Finally, for new games that I've been playing this past week, AK Solotl or Solotl. This is the Enter the Gungeon kind of game where you play as an axolotl with an AK-47. It's very similar to Enter the Gungeon. The graphic style is not as fun as Enter the Gungeon, but it's still a cute game. It's definitely like it's a roguelike to the core, where you also like grow these little axolotls to become characters with you, and they will they have like different abilities and stuff like that that they can use, different weapons they can use from the get-go as well. So it's important to kind of like grow the axolotls too. And as you go through the game and you die more and more, new things will appear, like new upgrades, new shops, new everything kind of starts to pop up. And the music in the game is really fun. I really like the music. Also, the story of the game, like the opening cutscene. I would recommend going and watching that on YouTube. It's just like so over the top and funny. I really enjoyed it. Definitely watch that opening cutscene if anything else. But I mean, what is there really to say about this game other than it's like Enter the Gungeon. You get different weapons from chests, and you fight enemies who shoot slow moving bullets at you, and then eventually you get to a boss fight that will do crazy wacky things. The game is definitely easier than Enter the Gungeon in my opinion. It's still got some challenge to it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, if you're looking for an Enter the Gungeon type experience, this is a pretty good one. But if you haven't played Enter the Gungeon, just play Enter the Gungeon. Don't play. AK Solotl is good, but play Enter the Gungeon before playing this. That's all I'm saying. For games we finished on stream or not finished, I decided not to continue Conker's Bad Fur Day. I was having a bad time with the game in general. And maybe it's just the rare replay version is just broken as hell, but I was getting frustrated every step of the way, unfortunately. So I'm definitely not going to be playing through the rest of Conker's Bad Fur Day. And then we did finish Spider-Man Remastered, the main story, and I got the Platinum Trophy again for the game. And I am working on the DLC, but the remastered version, it felt glitchier. I still don't like Peter's new face, but that's besides the point. The main reason why it's not as good as the original version of the game is the fact that this remastered version was very glitchy. Lots of glitches happening left and right, and that was not satisfying. And it also crashed a couple times on us as well, which did not happen during my original playthrough of Spider-Man. So I don't know what they did to it, but they definitely did not remaster it perfect. They definitely need to do some more work on this remaster because it is just not up to spec. And the DLC seems to be running fine. Right now we're in the middle of Turf War, and I got so annoyed with the screwball challenges that I kind of rage quit. But we probably won't get back to Spider-Man until after November. Not only because October's coming around and we're doing horror games for the entire month of October, but also we still need to finish Marvel's Avengers, which I've been working on, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I do want to finish Marvel Avengers before October comes around, so we put a pause on Spider-Man Remaster's other DLCs for right now. And then also November is Bunger Month, which is the month where people choose whatever game they want me to play, and I play it from my backlog, of course. So that'll be happening in November. So maybe it wasn't the best idea to put 2 themed months in a row, but usually it works out, and it is working out here. It's just we have to kind of put a pause on the DLC for Spider-Man. We'll get back to it after all that, or maybe if we finish Avengers quickly enough, maybe I will be able to play through more of the DLC in the next time I stream. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of a tight schedule for the final week of September. I got a concert to go to on Monday, and then Saturday I'm not going to be available to stream. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a rough week in that case. But, yeah, I enjoyed Spider-Man still. It's still a great game. Just the remastered version just isn't that great, in my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the show, which is what's in the news. All right, if you don't recall, the UK blocked the Activision Blizzard takeover by Microsoft initially, but it seems like the UK has decided to let the acquisition go through now that the Xbox has done a few different things, probably pleaded their case pretty hardcore. I mean, we've already seen all the different bullshit claims that they made to try and get this to go through, and I guess it worked, because the UK CMA has granted preliminary approval of the acquisition. This means that they have some concerns about it, but overall, Microsoft put forward remedies that the CMA has provisionally concluded should address those issues. The CMA considers that the restructured deal makes important changes that substantially address the concerns it set out in relation to the original transaction earlier this year. So, I believe that I think that was the last major player to approve the acquisition. I think Canada still needs to approve it. But yeah, I mean, there you go. By October 6th, the CMA has opened consultation. So Microsoft will be able to propose more remedies and fully get this to go through. So there you go. This is good news for Microsoft, and we'll see how the gaming world reacts when everything goes through finally. As long as Xbox starts making new Guitar Heroes and puts teams back on the games that they should be on, like Crash Bandicoot and Toys for Bob, that'll be great. But the latest track record of Xbox funded games hasn't been great in the past couple of months here. Redfall is a good example. You probably could lump Starfield in with that, but it's fine. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm interested. I'm excited. I mean, I guess there's a bit of excitement in the air. Like, okay, something's happening. We'll see what happens. Speaking of Xbox news, though, during the whole, this whole thing with the CMA and the FTC in America, there was a big bunch of Xbox information that has been leaked. Bethesda was hit the hardest with the most leaks, but there was also a good amount of leaks everywhere else. This is stuff from old emails and internal memos and stuff like that. Things that were never supposed to be public that have gotten public. So take everything that you're hearing with a grain of salt. But there are some things that seem to be pretty locked in stone. So a leaked Bethesda release schedule for fiscal years in the future have come out. And we're looking at the in the year 2024, there's going to be a new licensed IP game, a Fallout 3 remaster, another Elder Scrolls Online expansion, a Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, Dishonored 3, Doom Year Zero DLC, a new planned title for mobile gaming, along with an Oblivion remaster, which is supposed to come out in, 2023. So and Starfield DLC among all that. So the thing is, I actually don't really enjoy doing stuff like this because it's like, oh, they didn't want this to come out. But this is such a big story. It's like I can't not talk about it. I know that's a double negative, but it's one of those things. It's like, okay, it seems pretty sound. I mean, the release schedule for all the other games before it have been on point. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's important to note that, like, this is like, it's all leaks, so who knows what's still planned and what's not planned. This picture for the title release schedule was dated before Bethesda was bought by Microsoft. So things like Redfall aren't on here and stuff like that. So it's one of those things. It's like, okay, kind of interesting. So we'll see if any of this comes true eventually down the road. But I think a Fallout 3 and Oblivion remaster is probably a solid leak. And then also Dishonored 3, that seems pretty solid. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Also, an email from Phil Spencer to someone else stating that he would love to buy Nintendo. He says that Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and today gaming is our most likely path to consumer relevance. This is obviously before they bought Bethesda and before they planned to buy Activision Blizzard. In the same email, they mentioned, or he mentions, getting WB Games under their belt as well, which was a reality at one point, but not anymore. So once again, I mean, this is back in 2022, so this is a couple years ago at this point that they were talking about all of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's a discussion that they were having at the time, but I mean, would Nintendo ever sell to Xbox? No. And even in a report, Nintendo actually laughed Microsoft out of a conference call when they brought it up in the past. So there you go. Also, a part of these leaks was a new console called the Xbox Series X Refresh. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a true full name for it, but essentially this is going to deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, and more immersive controller, and a beautiful redesign that elevates all the digital experience of the Xbox ecosystem. So this new Xbox Series X Refresh would be a digital-only console. It'd be cylinder instead of square. Better Wi-Fi and 4K visuals. So as you might think and might be thinking right now, like, why do we need another console generation so soon? Apparently, this is planned for 2024 release inside Xbox. I think right now the gaming landscape and computers are nice because you can literally just swap out parts anytime you want and get the latest and greatest. Consoles, they're kind of fixed to a window. And if you release a game inside that window, you have to conform to what that console is capable of. So putting out new revisions every so often, like every 4 years, seems to be the way that things are going to go from now on. Also, they cited reduced PSU power by 15%, lower power standby mode, increased the use of PCR and on housing to 30%, 100% recyclable packaging. So there you go. Also, the controller was detailed as well. This new adaptive controller it looks like they're taking notes from PlayStation. Xbox Wireless 2 controller, direct to cloud ability, Bluetooth 5.2, whatever that means. New mobile app features, paired devices and cloud devices. You'll be able to see them. You'll be able to see the controller. Manage devices and accessories from the controller. Haptic feedback, VCA haptics, double as speakers, an accelerometer, quieter buttons and thumbsticks, rechargeable and swappable batteries, so they're finally moving towards the future there. Recycled materials with less resin, repair and disassembly, user-friendly. New thumbsticks, improved longevity, continued build improvements. Let's see, lift controller to wake it up, kind of a cool feature. Ergonomics, same as the Merlin design, which I believe is what they call the original Xbox 360 controller. Et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean the controller itself also looks pretty sweet too. I've always preferred Xbox controllers to anything else, and that looks like a good revision. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much that. And then finally, Phil Spencer has actually responded to the leak, saying, we've seen the conversation around old emails and documents. It's hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We will share the real plans when we are ready. And of course, the FTC blames Xbox. Xbox blames the FTC. So there's really who knows how the leak happened, but it happened, and it's a lot of information. Not all of it is relevant anymore, but I think that a lot of it is going to be relevant in the near future. All right, let's get back on the Unity train here. Last episode, I dedicated an entire spot on the podcast to Unity. This week, not doing the same thing because they did put out a statement with some changes and revisions to their new system. One of the biggest changes is that they apologized. One, they flat out said they apologize. But they changed the personal plan. The personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for the games built on Unity Personal, which is huge. That was one of the main issues that people had with the new system, was that Personal was non-existent anymore. They also increased the cap from $100,000 to $200,000 to remove the requirements to use the Made in Unity splash screen. So if you don't make more than $200,000 in a given time frame, you will not have to put the Unity splash screen at the beginning of your game. No game with less than $1 million in 12-month revenue will be subject to the fees. That's also a big improvement. For the creators on Unity Pro and Enterprise, they are also making changes based on their feedback. The runtime fee policy will only be applying beginning with the next LTS version of Unity. So if you build a game in the older version of Unity, you will not be subject to any of the fees anymore. All the fees will be cut. So that means if you don't use the new version of Unity, you'll be on the same TOS, the same schedule or the same pricing as before. So unless you're using the new version of Unity, you will not have to pay any fees, which will the new version will be shipping around 2024. I'm sure eventually they will not allow people to download the old new version of Unity. So, whatever. Any games that are currently being shipped and projects that you are working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to the new version of Unity. In big bold letters, they say, we will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using, as long as you keep using that version. For games that are subject to runtime fees, we're giving you a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported from your data you already have available to you, and you will always be billed the lesser amount. So this is very different from what they were going to do. Instead of the installs mattering, now that you can either split 2% share revenue with Unity, or you can have a number calculated between how many people are playing your game. So that's actually really huge. Because before, I almost wonder if Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation talked to them in private and said, "Hey, this fucking sucks," something like that. Where like if you have a game on Xbox Game Pass, Xbox would be responsible for all the installs of the game. Now they have completely ripped that out and said, "Nope, we're not doing that anymore," which is a great plus right then and there. Now, they did not show a new graph or anything like the new stuff all in one congealed location, so it's hard to really visualize the new changes. But these new changes are good, and I think they will help repair relations with the company for the long run. But a lot of the damage that has been done to Unity's reputation is not going to be easily solved. There's a lot of people who now are distrustful of Unity, myself included, because at any time they could choose to re-up any of these weird things that they were going to try and do with install fees and stuff like that. So I believe because of all the outrage and all the people who stood up to protect indie developers, and Jeff Cayley was one of them who stepped up and was like, hey, this is bad. What are we doing here to fix this issue? I think because of all the support that indie developers were getting, Unity was forced to make the changes, and that I use that term heavily. Forced. They were forced. If it was not for the number of people who were angry about this, the number of developers who came out and spoke up, not for the number of big personalities who also sent messages to Unity, this would not have been changed, and the indie developers who use Unity would have been hurt in a big way. But as it stands right now, Unity has made the steps in the right direction to repair the relations with their indie developers that use Unity and the bigger developers who use Unity as well. Once again, removing that install fee is huge. Changing up how the fees work is also huge as well. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Obviously, I know Unity as a whole is a business. They need to make money. So sharing revenue with the people who use their service instead of using a flat fee to buy their engines and stuff like that. I understand the logic behind it, but the execution was terrible. This new way of doing things is better. It's more concrete. It's more open. And I think there's going to be a lot less questions about this new version of Unity. And the other nice thing is, if you're still using the old version of Unity, you won't be affected by any of the changes. That's also huge. So this is big. This is great. But there's still damages to Unity's reputation, and there's still some things that people have problems with as well in the right now, which hopefully will be addressed in the near future. Because there's a lot of indie developers who are just trying to make it in the gaming world, and sometimes, like Among Us, their games just take off. And imagine if these fees were in place when Among Us took off, it would have been detrimental to that development team, because I believe they did use Unity. So now going forward, it's more open, like, hey, if you use this new version, this is how we're doing things now with this new version. which is great. That new version is still coming out in 2024, January of 2024. So we will see what happens when that officially comes out. But I think this is way better than what it was. Is it 100% great? No, of course not, but still much better than what it was. And hopefully they can this starts to just kind of disappear and gets better as it goes on, and hopefully Unity can repair the damage that they've done to their own reputation. There are people who are planning. There still are developers, I should say, who are planning to learn other engine software like Godot, or I think there's one called C++ or something like that. There's still developers who are in the background learning how those ones work, just in case in the future the Unity tries to pull the same bullshit. It's one of those things. It's like we'll wait and see what happens. As of right now, though, seems like they're on the better track, and hopefully they can mend the many broken relationships that they have occurred. Or incurred, I meant to say incurred. Okay, The Evil Dead the game was just launched in February of this year. The developer named Boss Team Games has decided to no longer pursue the development of new content for the game. This also includes the Switch port for the game as well. There will no longer be a Switch version of the game. That has been completely scrapped. Development for new content in the game has been scrapped as well. They will keep the servers up for the foreseeable future and address any major issues that arise, but they are not planning on putting out any new content, new maps, new costumes, etc. for the game. I believe when the game launched, it did have some favorable reviews, kind of like how Texas Chainsaw Massacre does. But I don't think that... I don't know if like the developer or the publisher, Saber Interactive, were like in it for the long run. You know, maybe they were seeing how it was going to go and be like, okay, it's not that great. Or maybe the Evil Dead license is just it's too expensive. That happened with Friday the 13th. You know, it's just too expensive of a license to keep going. So I guess we'll see what happens with the game in the future. But as of right now, they are not going to be doing any more major updates or new versions of the game for Switch for the foreseeable future. And it's possible that they'll be shutting down the servers sometime next year. So if you enjoy the game, I guess spend some time with it before it eventually goes away. Speaking of going away, Glenn Schofield, who was the CEO of Striking Distance Studios, who made the Callisto Protocol. He also was the co-creator of Dead Space. He has officially left the developer this past week. In a report by Bloomberg, Schofield's departure was because the veteran developer had decided to pursue new opportunities, also citing that the game did not sell as well as the publisher was hoping. So he has essentially left. Chief Operating Officer Stacy Hereta and Chief Financial Officer Johnny Sue have also left the company at the same time. So right now, I don't believe there's anyone at the head of this development studio. Here's the thing that kind of is sad, is the Callisto Protocol is half a good game, half a mediocre or bad game. Half good because the graphics and sound design are off the charts. The level design, I mean, you know, the areas you go to are beautifully designed and meticulously detailed. But the gameplay sucked and the story was mediocre. So it was just a really half and half kind of game. And I envision this game, like a sequel for this game, being amazing. But hopefully the people who worked on this game, hopefully the studio doesn't get shut down, one. Two, hopefully if it does get shut down, they get picked up by major studios again, because the work that they did on the game was phenomenal. I think they did a really great job with the game in general. It's just the final execution of like the combat and stuff like that was just not that great. And with Dead Space Remaster that came out, or remake that came out this past year, it completely swept Callisto Protocol under the rug in all categories, because Dead Space Remake had it all. It had the better graphics, it had the great sound design, it had great changes to the core gameplay, it has good gameplay in general, and it has a lot of exploration and stuff to do, which are things that Callisto Protocol just did not have. So Schofield said in a statement, "Creating Striking Distance Studios has been an incredible journey, and I'm proud of what we've achieved with the Crystal Protocol. A game close to my heart. While pursuing a new adventure is exciting, leaving SDS is bittersweet, but I know the studio is in excellent hands." You don't, yeah. I mean, there you go. What else do you need to say? Hopefully, he's not like the creator of Days Gone, where he'll be salty about the reception of the game for years to come. But time will only tell. Speaking of people leaving development teams, Embracer Group has made some more tough decisions, which come down from Crystal Dynamics, who have suffered some layoffs. So essentially, Crystal Dynamics made a difficult decision to part ways with 9 brand and marketing and 1 IT employee due to an internal restructuring to align with the studio with our current business needs. We are working directly with the affected staff to fully support them. This comes not too long after, well, I guess about a year after Embracer Group struck a deal with Square Enix to buy all of the Canadian based studios like Enix Montreal and Eidos Montreal. And this also is coming after the fact that they bought Gearbox, who develops Borderlands, and also they got the Lord of the Rings IP for a game. I believe are they the ones working on the Mines of Moria game? I don't remember. But that's some big commitment for money. So yes, of course, they're going to restructure some of their other studios. So it sounds like this is going to keep happening as the days go on. We'll see if any more studios get major cuts like this. Crystal Dynamics also wasn't the only studio to suffer. Embracer cut a bunch of people from the studio Beamdog, who just released Myth Force, along with a couple of other games. And there was also the closure of Volition as well, who was working on the Saints Row reboot. So things have been kind of crazy at Embracer Group, especially at Crystal Dynamics and other studios where people are losing their jobs, which is not great to see, especially after the company spent so much money to buy Gearbox and have the Lord of the Rings IP in their hands. Definitely kind of crazy, but yeah, we'll see. That's the cold world of business right there. All right. The Division 3 was casually confirmed by Ubisoft this past week. I believe they accidentally outed the game because of a job listing where they were asking for people who wanted to, were wanting to work on a new Division project. Division 3 has pretty much just been confirmed. The current creative director on Star Wars Outlaws will be heading the Division 3's development, but obviously right now he's working on Star Wars Outlaws, so it's probably going to be a while until we hear or actually see anything about the Division 3. With Division 2 being so old at this point, 4 years old, I mean, it's crazy that we haven't seen anything about a sequel. But they still work on Division 2 every so often, so it's not dead per se. Julian Garridy, who is the creative director, said it's going to be a privilege and honor to be able to continue to build incredible and unforgettable experiences in this amazing world with the most talented teams around the world, and I can't wait for what's next. So yeah, he's probably going to finish up on Star Wars Outlaws and then move over to Division 3, and I think that Division 3 is so early in development that's still in like the stages of like planning, so we probably won't see anything about this game for quite some time. Dragon's Dogma 2 had a lot of gameplay, 9 minutes of gameplay during a Capcom presentation at the Tokyo Game Show. The gameplay looks solid, and they also went over a couple of things about the game, like you're going to have some AI partners with you. There's going to be plenty of different biomes to explore and places to go around and explore. Larger than life monsters, also with the smaller monsters as well in there. Caves to explore. Just a lot of different things to go around. And this game kind of has like that Xbox 360, PS3 kind of like a dirty kind of style, I guess you could say. It definitely, I mean, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it definitely has that kind of style of like those kind of like muddy kind of graphics and stuff like that you would see in like a 360 era game, which is not a wholeheartedly bad thing. It's just it's a style, and it's kind of a vibe at times, especially in like the darker caves when you can only see like a foot around your character, which is going to be pretty intense in my opinion. So we'll see. I'm excited to see more about this game. It's probably not going to be a game that I'm going to be personally super interested in, but we'll see. Maybe they'll sell me on it. I don't know. It looks good, all things considered, but it's probably not going to be a game for me per se. The release window is in 2024, but it's probably going to be more like later in 2024, seeing as the game's still being developed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Marvel's Avengers. They decided the developer or the studio or the publisher behind the game has decided to really like put a sale on this thing. You can currently buy the game for just a couple of dollars on the PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam right now, and I believe Epic Games Store as well. So if you want to try the game out or if you want to add it to your catalog, you can buy it for about $4 across the board. Which is a pretty crazy bargain for how much content is now in this game and how much they fixed about this game. The whole reason why I'm playing the game right now is to try it out before they close the game down entirely. And I was thinking that they were going to make this game go extinct, completely eliminate the entire game. But they have actually backstepped from that. And thank you to Maztec Gaming who told me about this. Essentially, they've backpedaled from completely shutting down the entire game to only taking the game off storefronts and turning off the multiplayer. So you'll still be able to play the single player content along with all the DLCs, acquiring all of the different content drops in the game as well. So it's not being completely turned off. They're just taking it off of storefronts. So that's actually a really nice thing that's completely different from what they originally said they were going to do. Marvel's Avengers. I've been playing a little bit of it, and it doesn't feel too bad. But I have gotten to the point where the game is more like a looter beat 'em up than a story game. And I think if the game had just been a really tight-knit, cooperative superhero brawler, it probably would have been a lot better. But we'll see how I feel about it at the end of it all. I'm playing through the Reassemble story right now, which is the main story for the game. So we'll see how I feel. And if I want to play through the DLCs or something like that, maybe I will. But once again, it's a wait-and-see type thing. And I'm glad that they are not totally stripping this game down to its britches and deleting it. I'm glad that they are now decided to keep the game up and running. So if you want to buy the game, it'll only be available until the 30th of September for about $4 across the board. I would recommend taking them up on that offer. And if you don't, I mean, FOMO, I guess, fear of missing out is the real factor right now. But yeah, I think that in general, I think it's going to be worth the $4 you're going to pay for it. That's a pretty good deal. So there you go. That's my thoughts. Only a couple weeks removed from Xbox Live Games with Gold being discontinued, Xbox has officially pretty much immortalized the system, the Gold system, on people's profiles who was a part of or were a part of Xbox Games with Gold. Essentially, on this little diamond plaque that you can get on your profile, it says Xbox Live with Gold in a triangle or a diamond. I said. With the 2002 through 2023 in memoriam, kind of like a tombstone. It will say the years you were subscribed for. So if you were subscribed between 2020 and 2023, it'll show 2020 and 2023, etc. Pretty nice thing, kind of like a nice thing for them to remember the longevity of Xbox Games with Gold. Even though it wasn't the greatest thing ever for like the past 3 years, it was still a long running service that has been phased out and a lot of people loved back in the day. So it's nice that they are commemorating it for the years of service that it had. And finally, for the news today, Nintendo and the Seattle Aquarium, Washington Seattle's Aquarium, have joined forces for an Animal Crossing crossover event. Essentially, through October 7th through December 31st, you'll be able to come face to face with the likes of sea otters, harbor seals, octopuses, and of course fish, while enjoying the sights and sounds of Animal Crossing along the way. In a post by the Seattle Aquarium on X, the crossover you didn't know you needed, the Seattle Aquarium and Nintendo of America are teaming up to bring the Animal Crossing New Horizons game to life. Beginning October 7th, guests can enjoy an Animal Crossing New Horizons themed aquarium experience. You'll be able to partake in photo opportunities with key characters from the game, enjoy the sultry tones of Blathers as he provides creature descriptions, view a number of characters' standees throughout the aquarium, and take part in a scavenger hunt across the aquarium as well. If you're a member of the Seattle Aquarium, you'll be able to visit ahead of the general public, only about an hour and a half early, though. Early admission for members will be at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it will be open to the general public at 9:30 Pacific time. So if you want to check that out and you live in the Seattle area, probably a pretty fun event to check out. Animal Crossing Cross Seattle Aquarium. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. All right, there is a. Oh wait, I was actually talking about this before and I didn't realize it. Coming from Private Division, Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, is coming in 2024. This is a new title coming from 2K's publishing and Private Division's developing it, which was just bought by Embracer Group. So there you go. It all ties together. There will be more details on what the game will be about next year. But for now, there is a teaser trailer on Private Division's YouTube channel, pretty much just showing a book and the pages turning and showing some different characters, or I guess concept art, I guess you could say. And then the book closes and it says Tale of the Shire. In a press release, they said it's a privilege to create a new game set in Middle-earth, especially one that's so different from what fans have played previously. As fans ourselves, we're excited for gamers to explore Middle-earth in a way they'd never have before and introduce new fans to the magic of the Lord of the Rings. Here's my issue. I understand, Lord of the Rings Gollum, Return to Moria, Tales of the Shire, new experiences in the Lord of the Rings universe, card games. There will be a card game coming out. Why can't we just go back to a hack and slash game based on the movies? Why does it have to be like some new tale that's never been told before? Like, can we just have a rebirth of the hack and slash Lord of the Rings genre? Like, come on. Some of the best games in the Lord of the Rings universe are those types of games, whether it be the Return of the King or Mordor, Shadow of Mordor. Like, those are the best games in the series, and yet we don't see another game like that since War for Mordor, or whatever it's called. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Is like, okay, I get we're branching out, we're doing new stuff. Not all of it's hitting, but can we just get another hack and slash game? Can we get another turn-based game like the Third Age? I don't know. Maybe I'm asking too much. The Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection has added a few new games to its collection. This will be coming out, I believe, later this year or something like that. I guess maybe they don't have an official release date for it yet. You still can't pre-order it, so I guess we don't have a release date, anything like that. But in a video that that Limited Run Games posted on YouTube, they showed the new Sega published titles for Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park Rampage Edition will be included, as well as other games in the retro collection. These 3 action platformers will feature save states and in-game maps to help players escape Isla Nublar. The collection is shaping up pretty nicely, I would say. These are some new games that once again, I've never played any of these old games, so it's going to be a real crazy trip to check them out. Looks like there's a good amount of games just in all different styles that are going to be in this collection. So I'm very excited to check this out, and if there's other Jurassic Park games that they can add to it, I mean, go for it. Like let's see them do everything that they possibly can, because I'm very interested in this. So we'll see how it turns out when it officially gets a release date. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, I already talked about the collector's edition that they revealed, which also looked pretty cool. So having more games in this, hopefully it doesn't raise the price. Hopefully it's still like a $40 game at launch, but we'll see. All right, Tekken 8 has revealed that Ball mode is returning. Tekken 8, of course, is coming January 26th this coming year in 2024. But they officially revealed that the old Tekken 3 game mode that came out back in the 90s is coming back, where you bounce a ball between the 2 characters and you try and get a KO with the beach ball. They made this announcement on the Japanese PlayStation blog, explaining that the mode will be fully playable and reimagined in the upcoming sequel. They also confirmed that Tekken Ball can be played online or offline against the CPU and that's pretty cool. So Tekken 8 is shaping up to be a pretty good fighter. We'll see how it goes when it gets released. Bluey, a very popular kids show, is getting an official video game adaptation on November 17th, 2023. Uh, look out, Game of the Year contender right here, folks. So yeah, this is a very popular kids series. It's finally getting a video game. It looks like it's going to be better than the Peppa Pig games, which is probably not that hard to do, honestly. But you can play as one of four characters. You can play with up to up to four people in this game as one of the each of the characters from the show. The animation is a bit stiff here and there, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty basic, move your character around and jump, kind of game. Graphically, I mean, they did a good job of representing how the show looks, which is of course a big step up from other games in the kid genre. So yeah, looks like it's gonna be kind of fun. I guess, I don't know. For a kid, it's probably gonna be fun, I should say. It's coming across the board: Steam, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, all the major contenders. So there you go. If you want to check that out, the trailer is on Outright Games' YouTube channel. Let's shift gears. Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. This is the game that's looked like it was going to be based in California, but they revealed that it's going to be in Hawaii, the great state of Hawaii, as they said in 2012, the movie. So Infinite Wealth is going to launch on the 26th of January, 2024, the same day as Tekken 8, which is kind of crazy. This is going to be another epic RPG from the Like a Dragon series, aka Yakuza series. Physical copies of the game will be available as well as digital copies, which is nice. In the trailer that they showed off on Sega's YouTube channel, it pretty much just went over like all the different mechanics you'll be seeing. This is another game that's going to be a turn-based adventure, but it's kind of more like a Mario and Rabbids, where you kind of can move around the stage a little bit and then fight people or use moves on people. And it also has like the quick time events during combat to give you extra boosts or extra defense. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be pretty crazy as usual for these Yakuza and Like a Dragon games. Mini games in there, like delivering food across the islands, I guess, where you do crazy things to get around buildings and stuff like that. Kind of like Captain Underpants, you can leap over tall buildings. And of course, other things like rhythm-based game and mini games will be in there as well. It looks like Mahjong might be showing up, or something like Mahjong. Just a whole slew of different things that you would expect in any of these games. So it looks pretty good. And once again, that's coming on the 26th of January. If you want to check out more about that, head over to Sega's YouTube channel. Nightmare Simulator Small Land Survive the Wilds is coming on the 7th of December. This is a game where you get shrunk down and you try and survive in a nightmarish experience with different insects and animals trying to kill you. It's very closely related to Grounded. Actually, it seems like almost a straight copy of Grounded in a lot of ways. So you'll be fighting spiders, stink bugs, dodging birds, crafting your bases and stuff like that. It's going to have a huge open sandbox to explore with up to 10 players. You can tame and mount insects like spiders, birds, and more. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. You can mount insects, spiders, birds, and more. Birds are not insects. You can explore at the ground level or take to the skies. You can build your perfect Great Tree base with you in new servers as well. You can discover small folk lore and narrative quests and NPC encounters. There's going to be a dynamic weather system and randomized events with a day and night cycle. And you can choose your build that you want, whether you want a warrior or a builder or whatever. This is very closely related to Grounded. So if you like that game, this might be one that you want to check out. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is coming to the Nintendo Switch's online expansion. This is a Game Boy Advance game that came out back in 2004 on the Game Boy Advance, and it also came to the 3DS eShop and the Wii U eShop back in the day, but they're officially putting it on the Expansion Pass service. The graphical style is like a GBA style. It's very cutesy. Up to 4 players can play at the same time in this one, with a variety of mini games as well as a main story to conquer. So yeah, looks pretty good. I always like seeing new things coming to the system, and as I said before, I'd rather have a slow drip feed every month than a long wait every 6 months. And they have been doing a good job of keeping new things coming to the system in a relatively short time frame. Do I want more? Yes, I always want more, but I'm okay with the way they're doing it right now. I just, I'm hoping that they start to add more games quickly, but yeah, we'll see what they do. And finally, here are 6 games coming to Game Pass between the 19th of September and the start of October. So as I already talked about, Liza P and Party Animals are already available now. Payday 3 is actually available now as well, but the servers are currently having a lot of struggles, so I have not been able to play it. Hopefully we'll be able to play that sooner rather than later. On September 29th, Cocoon comes out. October 3rd, both Gotham Knights and the Lamplighters League come to the service as well. So Gotham Knights is a game that I wish I didn't buy back in the day because I barely played it. But if you want to play that on Game Pass, that would probably be the place to do it because I wasn't really that impressed with it. So there you go. That's the episode for today, folks. Let's go ahead and listen to the song of the week. If you give me the song name and the game that's from, I'll give you a free super reaction in the Discord, or I'll give you a heart and a congratulations in the comments on YouTube. Let's go ahead and listen to today's song right now. Alrighty, if you know that song name and the game, let me know in the comments below or in the Discord. Last week's song was Mute City from the game F-Zero, or you could say F-Zero 99 now if you want, but it was from the original F-Zero. I like the F-Zero soundtrack. It's a really good one, so if you've been enjoying the music guessing game, let me know. I will keep doing it for as long as I see feasible. If you want to check me out on any other places that I do things on, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I also have the Yemmy the Ferret VODs channel where I upload shorts every so often, and you can rewatch stream VODs. I do stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Yemmy the Ferret. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. This coming week is going to be a bit odd, so I'm not going to be streaming on Monday or Saturday, which is quite different for my schedule, but things in real life have gotten in the way a little bit. But hopefully I'll see you there. Right now we're going to try and finish Marvel's Avengers this coming week, and then in October starts our spooky game streams. The first game we're playing will be revealed closer to the October days. And there will also be Halloween bingo this year again, so you can win some fabulous prizes by playing bingo in the streams with me. And then don't forget that November comes around, and if you're in the Discord, you can actually suggest a game for me to play for my backlog, and I will play it. I will try to get through the entire list in the month of November, but that's still a little whiles away. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fair 64, whether it be on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, maybe even a review if you want to on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please leave a like and subscribe if you so desire. I've been doing this for quite some time, and hopefully the episodes keep getting better. But I guess that's up for you to decide. All right, folks, I will talk to you next week. This has been Fair 64, and I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. The Fair 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.